Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
6:07 Morning Majority. Brian Wilson, Brian Eamon, Mary Catherine Ham. And yesterday, guys, it was a huge day on Wall Street. The Dow had its best day since 1974. 1974. The Dow rose by some 340 points, and there was other good economic news out there. We thought it'd be a good day to check in with Peter Morici to see if he's feeling a little more optimistic about the way things are looking, given the fact that apparently there's been a deal in Europe and our GDP is growing a little higher than we thought it was originally. Dr. Morici, how are you this morning?
I'm good.
What do you think? Have we turned the corner?
Well, most economists are expecting a better second half than the first half. And 2.5% is kind of like a dead cat bounce off of 1% growth off the first half. We're expecting 2% growth going forward, and this is consistent with it. So this is good news. We're not in a recession right now, at least not yet. And so we continue to sail along, but we certainly do need a lot more improvements.
Well, I feel like I've heard this story before. Is it 3 months from now? Are we in the same place with Europe again?
Oh, yeah. Economists of every stripe are very skeptical about what's going on in Europe. It's real smoke and mirrors. They're trying to make Greek creditors take a 50% haircut without triggering the insurance policies on those bonds, what we call credit default swaps. They're really undermining the system over there. The bottom line is the pool of investors for Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Irish, and other debt in Europe is getting smaller because the European governments are losing credibility about their resolve to stand behind their promises.
So then why did the stock market go bonkers yesterday if every economist is thinking, this probably isn't the greatest thing in the world? Well,
Merkel walks out into her equivalent of the Rose Garden and says, we have a deal. Investors see that on the CNN screen,
right,
and they start buying. They don't call Peter Morici at the University of Maryland and say, "Is this deal going to fall apart in 2 days?"
Well, I'm sure they called you last night. Yeah, they called.
By the way, I was in Charleston speaking to a large group of businessmen, and I told them that, and they nodded. They're skeptical too. They understand something about finance because they have to finance their businesses. And when they see this Rube Goldberg they're putting together over there, they understand they couldn't finance their companies that way. And a government that can't print money is pretty similar to a company.
All right, so then we're going to have a big sell-off today or maybe next week then?
At some point, the air has to come out of the European balloon and the global economy has to adjust for it. Now, the Eurozone we got bad news about the Eurozone. It appears to be contracting. A recession appears to be beginning over there. We don't know for sure, but the first real hard number signs of a recession are emerging in Europe. How that will affect the United States remains unclear. We export to Europe, but it hasn't been a dynamically growing market, and the question is, can Barack Obama's export initiatives in Asia compensate?
All right, why was our GDP growth better than expected? I mean, we had August where it looked like things were going really downhill fast, the whole debt ceiling debate, nobody was hiring, we had a 0% job increase in that month, and all of a sudden we come out and it's 2.5% growth. How's that happen?
Well, 2.5% is not a lot. We had some growth in consumer spending of about 2.4%. We had an improvement in the real trade deficit because of weakening oil prices. Remember, this is the price deflated, price adjusted business. So whenever oil prices fall, things look a little better. And we've been consuming less oil. Which is driving those lower oil prices for real. That's really what you get on the real side. It's the consumption, and the consumption of oil has fallen a bit, so that helps. So we had some gains in a lot of areas. The other thing is we had a weaker dollar earlier on, and that tends to hit exports with a big lag, and we saw that.
I want to know about China's role in this European bailout and their new role as sort of bankers to the world. Do you have any concerns about that?
Do you remember the old silent movies with Simon Legree holding the mortgage on the widow's house?
I don't, but Wilson probably does.
No, I've seen it in archival footage.
Your archival footage. Remember those cartoons and so forth?
Yeah, I'm not
well,
that
the
old.
Europeans, fools that they are, to preserve the euro and to preserve capitalism, are going to invite in the Chinese to help underwrite their debt. Now, so far, the Chinese have bitten a little bit, but not a lot, because they see they were burned on some of these bad U.S. mortgage-backed securities, and they're becoming more conscious about buying the sovereign debt of Western countries. It's just that they can't maintain their undervalued currency without buying our currencies, okay? And so they got these euros and dollars to spend, and they don't know what to do with them. But if they do that, if they invite the Chinese in, your banker gets to call the shots, and they're not in as strong a position to put a thumb in the eye of the banker as we are.
Well, Peter, you're an important man. You're testifying on the Hill about defense cuts.
Armed Services Committee, yeah.
You had to put your best suit on, huh?
Yeah, I put on my gray suit. That was the Kyocera suit that I wore.
Nice.
That was the suit from the commercial.
To lend it that air of national importance and fame.
Ooh, you're bad.
No, that's what it was. So tell me what you were telling them about defense cuts.
Well, we really can't afford to cut defense anymore. They've already scored in the reductions in spending owing to the ends of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about slashing the base budget further. And the force structure of the United States has been seriously weakened. We have fewer planes, fewer boats, fewer. And we got, kids flying around in their dad's fighter planes. I asked the guys, how would you like to fight a cyber war with a 15-year-old computer? And they didn't really, some of them wanted to hear that, and some of them didn't. I got a couple of very stern lectures. One, from a couple of congressmen who think that every last dollar that the American economy has ought to be spent on social programs. And, in fact, the Hill lambasted me for challenging them, but I stand my ground. The real budget problem, I told them, is in Medicare and Medicaid, and that we shouldn't be cutting defense spending. And, Feldstein from Harvard was there, and he was pretty much saying the same thing. And so my feeling is that, that this sequester thing, the Republicans were fools for making this deal. If they don't agree to raise taxes, the Democrats can dig their heels in, and then defense takes half the cuts when it's 17% of the budget. That's silly.
Yeah. All right, before we let you go, the flat tax plan put out by Rick Perry, we've had a lot of economic people on our show last week that seem to like it, but I know you're not a big fan of it. Why?
Well, it's not a flat tax. It gives you a choice between the old system and the new system, which means the people that are gaming the old system and paying no taxes will continue with the old system. Now, I think it's poorly conceived. It's bad architecture. I just like, and by the way, I'm not working for anybody, okay? I'm not working for Romney, Kane, or Perry, or anything like that. I just like the Perry plan better. I think if the Republicans want a winning platform, I don't know if it's a winning candidate, but the winning platform is the Perry-Kane platform. You take Perry's platform, less taxes, attached to it Perry's tax scheme, and you've got a winner. You've got a program that'll turn America around if you can get elected and get it through.
Here's what concerns me about the Perry tax plan is you're going to have a much bigger deficit under that plan, wouldn't you, right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same old nonsense. The president assumes that he's going to grow the economy so he doesn't have to cut spending, and Perry's assuming he can grow the economy so he can cut taxes.
Right.
And it's just nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. How can you raise more money if you're going to give people a choice between one system that charges less taxes or the old system if they can, if they can use it to pay less taxes already? It's silly.